Hey there, cosmonauts. If you're active on social media or the gaming press at large, you have likely heard the news. The Department of Fair Employment and Housing of the US state of California has filed a lawsuit against Activision Blizzard, the company behind such games as World of Warcraft, Overwatch, Call of Duty, and a long list of other games. In the suit, it is alleged that Activision Blizzard has fostered a frat boy culture, in which its female employees have been sexually harassed, intimidated, and held back in both their careers and equal pay. In the wake of this news, many current and former employees have come forward with their own stories of abuse going all the way to the highest levels. While it is important to remember that these are accusations so far, the horror of the stories and the sheer amount of them makes it very unlikely to not be true. In this video we will be looking at the suit and see what exactly Activision Blizzard is accused of. At the end of the video we will discuss what we as consumers can do to make our voices heard and speak out against the abuse suffered by these women. As shown at the start of the video, we will be discussing topics including sexual assault, intimidation, suicide and general abuse. If you suffer from any kind of trauma related to these topics, please consider jumping to the end of the video or not watching it. While I obviously want as many people as possible to see it, your mental well-being comes first. This video at large will be something called a talking head video. I will be showing cinematics in the background, but you do not necessarily need to actively watch the video to understand what is going on and can just listen. Where relevant, sources will be posted in the description. To start off, I will list what exactly the DFEH is accusing Activision Blizzard of. I have a legal background, but not one from in the US. What this means is that I can likely translate most legal lingo for you, but I cannot guarantee the legal concepts I have learned are identical. In short, I am not an American lawyer, but most has been described in pretty general terms, so it should be fine. Before I begin reading the accusations, it is important to note that they aren't ranked in severity, but rather they provide categories where each kind of violation fits in. So starting off, sex discrimination, pay, assignment, promotion, termination and constructive discharge. This essentially means that every kind of discrimination when it comes to getting a position, responsibilities, the pay and promotions were discriminated based on sex or gender. Defendants have engaged in and continue to perpetuate discriminatory practices regarding pay, assignment, promotion and other terms and conditions of employment which negatively affect and impact female employees. These discriminatory practices began at Hire when women were offered lower compensation and less lucrative job assignments and opportunities than their male counterparts. Defendants paid female employees significantly less in starting pay than their male counterparts at Hire. This pattern or practice and violations were continuing. The pay disparity continued throughout employment for female employees. Defendants paid female employees significantly less than the male counterparts after Hire. This pattern or practice and violations were continuing. Women were also afforded less stock and incentive pay opportunities. Female employees were overwhelmingly assigned into lower grades or levels without stock and incentive pay opportunities or less opportunities. Female employees also received less stock and incentive compensation than male employees. The pattern of practice and violations were continuing. Women were steered into the lower levels of defendants' hierarchy and often had to work harder and longer to earn equal promotional and other opportunities as their male counterparts. As an example, a female employee working for Blizzard Entertainment was assigned to a lower level role, denied equal pay and subsequently sought a promotion because she had been carrying out duties exceeding her job description. She was repeatedly told it was not her turn and others deserved a promotion ahead of her. Ultimately, the employee was promoted after 3 years, while her male counterpart was promoted within a year of his hire despite having started several months after her. Her male counterpart was also assigned leadership responsibilities which she was not afforded, responsibilities which furthered the male employee's ability to get promoted. In another example, a female employee who worked at Blizzard Entertainment was assigned to a lower level, denied equal pay and passed over for a promotion despite multiple factors that suggested she earned it. 1. Highly rated performance reviews. 2. She generated significantly more revenue in her marketing campaigns than her male counterpart. And 3. She ran almost twice as many campaigns as her male counterpart. Despite her accomplishments, her male counterpart was invited to have monthly or weekly one-on-one meetings with the vice president. She was not afforded these same opportunities and unsurprisingly was passed over for a promotion in favor of her male counterpart. Similarly, other female employees at Blizzard Entertainment were assigned to lower level roles, denied equal pay, and further delayed or passed over for promotions in favor of male counterparts who lacked the same experience or qualifications, but who were friends with the male head of the unit. A newly promoted male supervisor delegated his responsibilities to his now female subordinates in favor of playing Call of Duty. Other male supervisors would refuse to communicate with female employees, going to the male counterparts for information. Female employees at Activision Publishing were also assigned to lower level roles, denied equal pay, and delayed or passed over for promotions of the male counterparts. As an example, a female human resources employee at Activision Publishing was delayed and passed over for a promotion despite receiving positive performance reviews, doing substantial more work than her male counterpart, and taking over the actual responsibilities of the reporting person. Female accounting employees at Activision Publishing likewise note that male counterparts were paid significantly more than them despite doing the same or less work and having less responsibilities. Female employees were also not promoted because of defendants' discriminatory practices against pregnant female employees. A female employee working on one game team had assumed some of the responsibilities of a manager, but when she asked her male supervisor about being fairly paid for the work she was actually doing and promoted into that position, the manager commented that they could not risk promoting her as she might get pregnant and like being a mom too much. In general, female employees were further treated negatively due to their pregnancies. Supervisors ignored medical restrictions given to female employees and gave them negative evaluations while they were out on maternity leave. Other female employees reported that they were criticized for leaving to pick up their children from daycare, while the male counterparts were playing video games and female employees were kicked out of lactation rooms so employees could use the room for meetings. Women of color were particularly vulnerable targets of defendants' discriminatory practices. An African American employee noted that it took her 2 years to be made into a permanent employee, while men hired after her were made permanent employees. She also was micromanaged such that her male co-workers were known to be playing video games without any intervention by a supervisor, but a supervisor would call and check on her if she took a break to go on a walk. Another African American employee who worked on information technology was similarly micromanaged by her manager, unlike the men on her team. When she requested time off of work, her manager made her write a one-page summary of how she would spend that time off of work when no one else had to do any write-up. The male supervisor also criticized her body language despite male counterparts slouching in meetings, and she was scolded for asking for assistance, while others could get help on similar tasks without the same criticism. These experiences led female employees to leave their employment with defendants. So, in addition to sexism, also racism. As a result of these discriminatory pay, assignment, promotions, and other practices, defendants' gender pay gap is significant. Defendants paid female employees significantly less in base pay and total compensation than the male counterparts. This pattern of practice and violations were continuing. When women complained to human resources personnel about the lack of equal employment opportunities, especially in comparison to the male counterparts, their complaints fell on deaf ears or were met with an empty promise to investigate the issue. Indeed, despite having retained Paul Hastings LLP from 2015 to 2017 and Miller Law Group in 2018 to allegedly provide analysis related to compensation data, defendants failed to take effective and reasonable steps to prevent pay discrimination, as the pay disparity between male and female employees was not remedied and continued. As a result of these discriminatory practices, female employees were forced to leave their employment with defendants. For example, female employees noted that they accepted less compensation than they were making in their prior employment or offered by other companies to work for defendants with the hollow promise that they would get promoted or get other forms of compensation to make up the difference. They never made up ground and instead had to watch as male comparators were promoted more quickly and offered more compensation, forcing them to leave the company. Additionally, defendants terminated female employees more quickly than their male counterparts. This pattern of practice and violations were continuing. In sum, defendants' discriminatory practices adversely affected women in compensation, assignment, promotion, and termination. Defendants failed to take effective steps to remedy or adequately correct its compensation disparities despite its awareness that such disparities existed. Defendants' discriminatory practices continue to the date of this complaint. What this chapter is essentially saying is that basically at every stage of employment, from getting hired until actually leaving the company, Women especially, and then also even worse, women of color, were continuously held back, micromanaged, received less money than they deserved, and in general were discriminated against because of their sex or gender, and in some cases also because of their race. Now this is the part of the video where the trigger warning from before really starts to come in. Sexual harassment. Female employees almost universally confirmed that working for defendants was akin to working in a frat house, which invariably involved male employees drinking and subjecting female employees to sexual harassment with no repercussion. Cube crawls in defendants' offices were common, and male employees proudly came into work hungover. Similarly, male employees would play video games during work, engage in banter about their sexual encounters, talk openly about female bodies, and make numerous jokes about rape. As a product of this frat boy culture, women were subjected to numerous sexual comments and advances, groping and unwanted physical touching, and other forms of harassment. A female employee noted that random male employees would approach her on defendant's work site and comment on her breasts. Female employees working for the World of Warcraft team noted that male employees and supervisors would hit on them, make derogatory comments about rape, and otherwise engage in demeaning behavior. This behavior was known to supervisors and indeed encouraged by them, including a male supervisor openly encouraging a male subordinate to buy a prostitute to cure his bad mood. In a blatant example of defendant's refusal to deal with a harasser because of his seniority or position, Alex Afrasiabi, the former senior creative director of World of Warcraft at Blizzard Entertainment, was permitted to engage in blatant sexual harassment with little to no repercussions. During a company event, an annual convention called BlizzCon, Afrasiabi would hit on female employees, telling him he wanted to marry them, attempting to kiss them and putting his arms around them. This was in plain view of other male employees, including supervisors, who had to intervene and pull him off female employees. Afrasiabi was so known to engage in harassment of females that his suite was nicknamed the Cosby Suite, after alleged rapist Bill Cosby. Afrasiabi would also call female derogatory names at company events. Afrasiabi's conduct was known to Blizzard Entertainment's executives, who took no effective remedial measures. J. Allen Bragg, president of Blizzard Entertainment, allegedly had multiple conversations with Afrasiabi about his drinking and that he had been quote unquote too friendly towards female employees at company events, but gave Afrasiabi a slap on the wrist. In essence, verbal counseling in response to these incidents. Subsequently, Afrasiabi continued to make unwanted advances towards female employees, including grabbing a female employee's head and inviting her to his hotel room and groping another woman. And this honestly was the worst one of them all. In a tragic example of the harassment that defendants allowed to fester in their offices, a female employee committed suicide while on a company trip due to a sexual relationship that she had been having with a male supervisor. The male supervisor was found by police to have brought a butt plug and lubricant on his business trip. Another employee confirmed that the deceased female employee may have been suffering from other sexual harassment at work prior to her death. Specifically, at a holiday party before her death, male co-workers were alleged to be passing around a picture of the deceased vagina. What this is literally saying is that a woman, someone who could be your mother, your sister, your wife, your girlfriend, any important female in your life, could have been this person, and she was literally harassed and abused until she saw no other solution than to commit suicide. A woman with the rest of her life in front of her. These examples alone elevated above any other case in the gaming industry. Retaliation and defendants' failure to prevent discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. What this category essentially includes is every case where either female employees were retaliated against for reporting abuse or where supervisors failed to take appropriate action. The problems of harassment and discrimination extended to and at a minimum were known to those at the top. Defendant's former chief technology officer was observed by employees groping inebriated female employees at company events and was known for making hiring decisions based on female applicants' looks. An employee complained to Blizzard Entertainment president J. Allen Bragg in early 2019 that employees were leaving due to sexual harassment and sexism. Specifically, this employee noted that women on the Battle.net team were subjected to disparaging comments, the environment was akin to working in a frat house, and that women who were not huge gamers or core gamers and not into the party scene were excluded and treated as outsiders. Female employees had raised further complaints to various human resources personnel about the discrimination they faced, including but not limited to complaints about unfair pay and assignments, male co-workers belittling them or minimizing their contributions, and male counterparts being promoted quickly despite their lack of seniority. Similarly, female employees also complained of the harassment they suffered, including that male co-workers groped them, that male supervisor asked them on dates, and of other unwanted harassment. Defendants failed to take reasonable action in response to these complaints. Such lack of effective remedial measures was not surprisingly, given defendants' own internal investigations into their human resources unit noted that there was quote-unquote a big lack of trust and that quote-unquote HR not held in high regard. Multiple employees also noted that their complaints were not kept confidential. In retaliation for complaints they made regarding harassment and discrimination, female employees experienced retaliation by defendants. That included involuntary transfers, selection for layoffs, and denial of project and other opportunities. Defendants' flawed policies and practices effectively allowed and continue to allow discrimination to occur in defendants' workplace. Employees have suffered and will continue to suffer harm from defendants' ongoing unlawful policies and practices unless they are enjoined by this court. What they are saying here is that the highest levels of leadership within at least Blizzard Entertainment and probably Activision Blizzard at large knew all too well what was going on. It also shows that Blizzard themselves knew that the HR unit, so our human resources, was ineffective and not trusted by the employees they were supposed to protect, and that in cases where females came forward, they were fully retaliated against and in cases even lost their jobs. Everything the company is accused here of, if it does turn out to be true, which by all indications it is some of the worst levels of harassment and essentially goes back to the kind of employment we saw in the 50s and the 60s of the past century. It's basically Mad Men, but somehow even worse. The gaming industry at large is rotten when it comes to harassment and intimidation. In recent years, Riot Games was accused of something very similar, and in recent weeks, Ubisoft has also reached the news. Most likely, almost every gaming company deals with some kind of sexual harassment and intimidation problem. The accusations coming out of Activision Blizzard, especially the fact that a young woman with her whole life ahead of her is believed to have committed suicide as a result of it, is an absolute new low. Whataboutism will not fix this problem. We as consumers need to make a stand. This is the straw that breaks the camel's back. As such, I call upon all of you to use the tools available to you. Activision Blizzard depends on our money. They need our streams and videos for exposure and free advertising. They are a major company, but they are not immortal. Cancel your subscriptions and pre-orders. Replace it with another game on your streams and videos. Force Activision Blizzard to make a change by hurting the only thing they truly care about, their money. Consumers are stronger than you think, and stronger than they think. At the same time, this should not be considered an excuse to harass those people who still play and who still stream or make content about Activision Blizzard games. It is easy to consider these people the enemy, but they are not the problem. The only people that are the problem are those responsible for the abuse and those who shield them. Thank you for watching this video. I originally had a video about Earth 2 planned for this slot, but that is one I will instead upload in the next few days. When I read about this, I knew I had to speak out somehow. I have been a major fan of World of Warcraft for over 13 years, ever since first playing it on my second account in 2008. Yesterday, I cancelled my subscription. I am not planning to reactivate it until the corporate culture inside Activision Blizzard has been changed, so that everyone can feel safe and acknowledged for their work. As more of this story unfolds over the upcoming days, weeks and months, I will keep you all updated with extra videos. If you like this video, please consider pressing the like button. If you want to see more content about gaming, media and general popular culture, both longer videos like these and shorter videos, please consider subscribing. I stream multiple times a week on both Twitch and YouTube, and when I stream where can be seen in the schedule in the description. Until next time.